Donald Trump's win in November caused seismic waves felt all across the country, and it shook up more than just politics. It served as a clear wake-up call to legacy media outlets. Veteran journalist Howard Polskin now reports on the media.
They're doing soul searching, and I think it's going to be reflected in some of the content we see on the air and on websites and in newspapers. I think everyone is going to be a lot more measured.
MSNBC hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brezinski quickly saw the writing on the wall.
They are overseeing a sinking ship. Joe and Mika, you could think of as the captains of the USS Resistance.
This worshiping of Hitler's power.
After being vocal Trump critics, they met with the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago and are now starting to play nice.
Joe and I realized it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
Curtis Houck with Newsbusters says their move makes sense based on ratings alone. Following the election, MSNBC's total viewership dropped 38%. CNN down 27%. Houck sees this as desperate times.
Part of that desperation is going to meet with the fascist himself. And they've admitted in previous weeks that they want to do the show differently, which I take that to mean perhaps go back to the Morning Joe that it used to be.
But it might be too late to do any good. Trust in the media has been fading for years. Back in 1972, only 6% of Americans said they didn't trust the media. By the Clinton years in 1997, that number increased to 15%. When Trump first took office, it jumped to 24%, and now, after 8 years later, 36% of Americans don't trust the media at all. John Solomon is the CEO of Just the News.
That is such an extraordinary number. It should be a shockwave in newsrooms across this country. Unfortunately, most newsrooms are still in denial. So I fear the pattern of misreporting, of loss of audience, loss of connection with audience, loss of perspective with audience is going to continue.
And we're already seeing a trend of out with the old and in with the new. Trump took advantage of this and added a new wrinkle in 2024 by reaching out to podcasters, streaming services, and social media influencers.
You saw him go after podcast platforms. He talked to his son, Barron, about this. He had a young comms team that thought about where do young people get their news.
Houck believes Trump has changed the way campaigns will communicate in the future. More emphasis on casual connection and far less on what's seen as traditional media.
Candidates venturing into the podcast sphere, new media atmosphere, whatever you want to call it, is this generation's question of yesteryear of which candidate would I want to get a beer with.
This new playing field could pit two media classes against each other, with the battle playing out at the White House itself. The legacy media has encamped in the briefing room for decades. Solomon, though, recounts a conversation with Trump in 2020 when talk had already begun about shaking up how business is done.
I would not be surprised if you saw in a few weeks the announcement of a creation of a new White House Correspondents Association and an alternate Correspondents Association.
That could mean a group of more conservative outlets and possibly popular podcasters.
Maybe create a second press room. Maybe it's in the old executive office building, which was where the discussions were in August of 2020, and let new media come in and let's see who covers the press conference more accurately, more fairly.
Whether that happens or not, it's clear this new media landscape is spreading from print and television to the social media terrain. With X now owned by Trump-supporting Elon Musk, liberals are fleeing in droves, moving to Blue Sky, started by Twitter founder and former CEO Jack Dorsey.
The news environment is going to be it's going to be atomized even more. So now you're going to have social media platforms just for mainstreamers and liberals. You're going to have some just for the near right, and you're going to have social media for the far right. That's just how the media business is going these days.
And it's all moving very fast, just the way Trump likes it. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.